Alright, we are the Changey Man, the Change Boy, the Changelinger. He's got a fairly mobile starting army, and we're not going to do any kind of gimmicks with this campaign because there's enough going on in it already. Such as the schemes and theatres of war. These are all the different parts of the map where you can go and do little missions. And where we start in the Empire lands, we've got one to sack Altdorf, we've got one to infiltrate any settlement, so just build a trickster cult basically. One to destroy the Festus faction, one to win 15 battles in this area, another to win 12 battles against dwarfs, screw that, and another to spread loads of corruption around Castle Drakenhof. Now, there are rewards for doing the different missions. You can get a 10% ward save if you do the dwarf one, but of course you can choose whichever ones you want to do. You only need to do 3 of them though. You don't need to do all of them, so I'm kind of going to go for the ones that'll allow me to move on the quickest and get to that battle. And this first one that you do, taking a settlement, I'm just going to auto-resolve it. It's pretty much a freebie, so you only really need to do 2. And when you take a settlement, you can either make it into a symbiotic settlement or a parasitic settlement. A symbiotic means you kind of work together with the settlement and you help them grow, which also helps you gain. Or parasitic, you take from them and you slowly destroy them over time, whichever is going to be more useful to you. And with your trickster cults, you are going to get all the buildings available straight away, so you're going to have a lot of choices about what to build, and it is a little bit more of a complicated system than normal, because you do have a lot of buildings that cancel each other out, and you've got positives and negatives for all the buildings. And well, you know me, I'm an orc, I'm not going to try too hard on getting the perfect combination of buildings here, I'm just going to mash things into place. With taking that settlement though, that's one of our missions done, so now I need to move on to a second one, and I think I'm going to go after Altdorf, sacking Altdorf. I can sneak in and do that, I reckon. I also get the reward of a recruitable steam tank. I'll take it. So I slide my way over towards Altdorf to see if Karl Franz is home, and he is, with a full stack no less. So we're going to have to wait for him to bugger off, and then we're going to slide in and try to do a sneaky sack of Altdorf, and then get the hell out of there. Now as I'm hanging about in the forest waiting for Karl to leave, I assign myself a new form, which is the form of Wulfric the Wanderer. I think you get a random lord given at the start of each campaign. I've started this campaign up once just to look around, and I had somebody else. It wasn't Wulfric, I can't remember who it was, but this time I've got Wulfric, which is a fine starting form. Not the best though, to be honest. There's certainly better options we could have had, but I'm going to start to scout the Reichland land just to see if there's maybe anything I can do to try and give Karl a reason to get out of Altdorf. But as I say that, on the next turn, Karl very kindly takes his leave and leaves Altdorf free for the sacking. So on the next turn, I made my moves and declared war on the Empire to go and sack Altdorf, and then to hopefully try and get away before Karl Franz comes back with his full stack. I just need to get my hero back in my army, and then I'm ready to go. I pull off a usual tactic of mine, a cheeky misdirection, start in one place and run over to a different gate that's undefended. So I'm going to try and get through this gate here. I'm going to send my lord and hero just to go and get another gate open. And it doesn't take long for our cockatrice and Zangors to knock the main gate down and start pouring in. Mostly before any of the Empire troops arrive, apart from this cav, but they're not causing us any trouble yet. I then managed to hold back the Empire infantry that all comes from mostly one direction, thus we can kind of hold it back with 1 or 2 units before the rest of our army pours in. And I'm starting to push through the settlement to actually try and take some objectives along the way and not just run for the victory objective. I managed to get a nice angle with my flamers on the big bunch of Empire infantry, and that gets absolutely melted. I've got my Zangors smashing their way through barricades. I've got the blue horrors up on the wall, raining down magical fire upon that big blob as well. And it doesn't take long for them to all start running for the hills, just a few missile units in the back to clean up. And with that, the Changey Boy is going to sack Altdorf. And hey, do you ever worry about your computer being sacked? Well, protect yourself with the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark VPN. Protecting your personal data while you adventure across the interwebs. Because in this world gone mad, you never know when some smelly hacker's going to try and steal your personal information, passwords, or trick you into a cheeky scam. Or maybe you're worried about big business, following everything you do, building a profile on what you like to do on the internet, which might include some weird searches. So protect yourself on unlimited devices across all kinds of platforms. And Surfshark comes in handy in many other ways as well, such as pretending you're somewhere else in the world so that you can access content that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. Especially handy for streaming services like Netflix. Included in your subscription, there's also an alert feature that'll tell you if your email address password has been compromised, an antivirus, a search engine that'll leave no trace, lots of handy stuff, and best of all, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can just get a refund. Check out the link in the description if you're interested, and use code Zerkovich for an extra 3 months free. Thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Back to the action and our defeat of Altdorf. We're going to go ahead and build a parasitic cult, which will do the sacking in the process. So we can use this just to siphon a bit of money and stuff off of Karl Franz. We've also got our scheme mission done, so that's another one. We just need one more and then we can do the proper battle. And trying to decide which one to do next. Some of them are quite long, like doing 15 and 12 battles. That's going to take a while. So it's either go and do the corruption or take out Festus, and I'm going to go for Festus as he's not too far away. It's quite early campaign, so he shouldn't be too strong. With any luck, he'll be at war with a couple of people and we can just sneak in and try to make his life harder and hopefully take him out. Now, I'm going to head back and try and recruit a couple more units before I go, but one thing that's so striking about this campaign is how nice it is to not have to worry about trespassing and that you can just run around all over the place in anybody's lands and there's no ill consequence. It's surprisingly different. And then you have the hidden abilities. Whenever you have a cult built in a province, you'll be hidden when you're in that province, so your army can be difficult to see for most factions. So it's really nice to be that stealthy. But moving up towards Festus, we can see he's got a few armies around one of his settlements, but not too much else around. As he starts to push out and take some more settlements, I'm going to sneak in, slither my way towards his main settlement because I want to take out Brass Keep. Whenever you try to take out any faction, if you can take out their first city, their capital, the first one they ever got, it's going to be the most advanced. If you can get rid of that, it hurts the faction a lot. It takes away units that they could normally recruit. It takes away a lot of their money. And I've been shafted by movement range. It looks like I can reach. The arrow is entirely green, but it's a lie. I've been Zeech and tricked, and I'm a Zeech boy. Alright, I waited to turn. Luckily, I didn't get attacked being sat around after declaring war. And of course, we're going to dive straight into this before any reinforcements do arrive. And with this one, I did go straight for the victory objective, to be honest, mostly because I was worried about my army getting beaten up, and then some big Festus stack would come along and I'd be beaten up and they just wipe me out. So I'm playing it safe to try and stay in good shape. And I can get a fair bit of money from raising this, which I kind of need right now, and it'll hurt Festus much more if I completely take it out. Plus, maybe Midland or someone will come and take it. He's only got 3 settlements left, so it shouldn't be too hard to get rid of him. On the next turn, his Hergig settlement is still undefended, so I'll have that as well. Another decisive victory, auto-resolve, nice and easy. Raise that up as well. But while I wonder why Festus didn't come to defend this settlement, it's because he's gone and taken another one in Kappelberg. So 1 step forward and a step back at the same time. On the next turn, the big man does appear, and his form is one I want. I'd like to be able to change into Festus. His Mortis Engine or healing could be very useful for the Zeech army. For now, though, I'm going to try and take out his other settlement up here, Wolfenburg. That has the gold mine. We've got to take that off him. Maybe some Empire faction will come and help out. My cult in Altdorf got discovered because I made one of the buildings that had high discoverability, and it did indeed get found, so we lost that, but not a huge deal. Although I am finding money a bit of a struggle in this campaign, but I think that's probably because I'm not really trying that hard with the buildings. Another problem is Festus's army is actually pretty tough. It's got some great weapons in there. It's got a couple of giants. I'm not sure I quite have the anti-large tools to deal with all of that. And on to the next turn, and I'm almost going to find out if I can deal with it because he does try to attack me, but as I really don't like my chances in this battle, I really can't see myself having the tools to deal with all of that. His great weapons will defeat my Zangors. I'm going to retreat for now and maybe hope for a better situation. He does end up right next to me, but I'm going to teleport my way out of there to get myself some space from him, and I have now left him between 2 Midland armies, who he is at war with, so in theory they should go and take him out. There's 2 stacks of theirs, but alas, he gets his turn before Midland does, and thus pegs it back to Wolfenburg, the settlement I'm about to try and goddamn take. So with no chance of me being able to defeat that army in the settlement with the garrison's help, I try to wait around a bit to see if any of the other local Empire armies will do anything. Over a couple of turns, though, nothing really happens, so I go into ambush stance in some forest, and what do you know, I managed to get the bastard. But, I still don't really like my chances. Great weapons take out Zangors, giants. What am I going to do about them? Don't really have any great anti-large. Got flamers, maybe. I'm not really entirely confident I can win this battle, but if I can just hurt his army enough that maybe one of the Midland factions can finish him off, that should still do the trick. Coming into this one, the ambush itself not really helping greatly, lowering their leadership a little bit, but positioning-wise, there wasn't too much of an advantage to take. I've got my flyers over the other side, going to try and hammer and anvil them where I can, but there's just a lot of large in this army, and I don't have a ton of anti-large to deal with it. The great weapons are coming in against my Zangors, which isn't great for me, and there's also Festus to try and get rid of. He's got healing, but he's not too near any of his other troops right now, so that's fine. My backline is being harassed by, would you believe it, fucking giants. One of the slowest goddamn monsters in the game, but they're kind of overrunning me with giants right now, what can I say? So things are looking a little bleak, but on the upside, I've nearly got Festus dead. He's been fighting some Zeech Forsaken, so their magical damage going through his physical resistance at least. So if we can get him dead, maybe there's a chance. If he starts healing all his infantry and stuff, though, it could be a problem. Or if he heals these giants, who I'm desperately trying to get rid of. I'm trying to flame them, but they're not accurate enough. What I really need is the pink horrors firing on them, but they can't because they're being chased. There is a fair bit of clumpage going on from the enemy, though, so some nice groups of troops to hit with some searing doom. I start to put focus on trying to get rid of the giants, so I whip out my cockatrice. I also try to hit him with the blue horrors and their missiles. I hit him with the flamers where I can. I hit him with the pink horrors when I can. And eventually I bring in my cosplay Wulfric from the Changeling, and I am able to get one of the bastards down with the power of the Wanderer. But coming towards the end of this battle, you can see it's pretty much coming down to the wire. It's very, very close. There's a few units of infantry left. I've just finished off that giant with Wulfric as well. He's done it again. Finally able to get the pink horrors onto those giants as well. And with a little bit of skirmishing and making sure I use those missiles on the remaining infantry, I am able to get the victory, albeit an incredibly Pyrrhic one. And with this, I'm able to get access to Uncle Festus as my new form, and that is going to be much more useful than poor old Wulfric on foot. Not so good. Maybe if he had the mammoth, it would be better, but Festus with the healing and the direct damage, nice. With that, we put Festus on his last legs. Middenland have taken all of his settlements up north there. I've come down south now to get his last settlement. I'm going to recruit a steam tank because I goddamn need it right now. My army is pretty shot. I need to get some more troops, but I'm going to take the turn and try to get rid of this settlement before any big armies arise from it. But unfortunately, the settlement is a little too well defended for what my army will be able to do, I think. So instead, I'm going to fall back. I'm going to recruit, build my army back up, and look to make one big final push to get rid of Festus. But when I return to do so, I find a big old stack there, which is probably going to be too much for me. So I go into ambush, try to hide out the way, in hope that he'll leave, and he does, thank the Maker, which frees me up to take that final settlement and leave his army on its lonesome. It's predicted a close victory. I'm going to take that auto-resolve, even though there's a big old Festus army nearby. I'm expecting him to come back at me, but I think I might be able to run away out the way, possibly. Turns out, nope. Can't retreat far enough. He's still able to get me, so I'm going to have to fight him, but it's not so much of a worry. His army isn't what it once was. It's a lot of doggos, some nurglings, some chaos marauders. Not really that scary. For this battle, I took more of a simple defensive formation, just going to try and grind them down. I've got my new Festus boy to help with the healing and with some direct damage. And if you are hoping to see a little Festus on Festus action, well, you're in luck. They're having a bit of a weird threesome with this cultist. It's a bit of a two Festuses, one cup vibe. Cultist vibe. Shit's getting weird. Eventually, it turns into a bit of a Spider-Man situation. I can't tell which Festus is the real Festus anymore. But either way, neither of them are getting anywhere very quickly. They've both got their healing going. It's going to be a long one, this one. It's a bit of a blobfest, not really any great tactical brilliance to point out here. It was overall maybe a little bit of a tougher battle than I anticipated. I was able to get some nice angles with my missiles though, do a lot of damage with those, and claim myself a close victory. And with that was Festus's final moments though, as he now had no settlements and no real army to speak of, which meant I was just going to finish him off, and that would be the end of it, hopefully. Right? He doesn't have any more settlements or any more armies? No, he doesn't, thankfully. That's the end of the Facundites and Festus, and with that our grand scheme mission has been completed, and we can now do the battle in this area. Of course, I head home, replenish, recruit some more stuff, and then I'm ready to go. I got some more Zangors, I got some Screamers, I got the Severed Claw, the anti-large boys, so I got some much better anti-large now. And I'm going to be facing 4 different Empire factions with small armies here. I guess they're all coming at the same time, but there's obviously going to be some reinforcements. Let's find out. I'm going to have to play the aggressor in this one because the enemy has some artillery and we're just going to get bombarded by that if we don't push them. So I'm pushing up my main force in the center, and I do have a big flank planned for them as well. There's a bit of cavalry, some skirmish cav here, a bunch of infantry. There's a fair amount of lords on the field. Some anti-large, some war wagons, bunch of missiles and artillery at the back. My front line clashes with cavalry. I've got Festus there with the healing. A bunch of infantry coming in as well, but it's only Empire swordsmen, so nothing major to worry about. As I mentioned, I got a big flank coming through the trees. A bunch of Zangors are going to spill out this way, get after all these missiles and pieces of artillery at the back, and then flank around maybe for some hammer and anvil of whatever might still be fighting my main force. The Screamers doing the job of disrupting some missiles and such. My Cockatrice in there doing the same job. The Screamers also really good for getting rid of those war wagons, as we see here. These battles not super tough though against the Empire. Bit of a flimsy faction that'll break easily, especially with some of these powerful units. I'm hoping the Empire will get some love in the Thrones of Decay update coming next, as they may be falling behind a bit, but here come the reinforcements for the enemy. It's a bunch of cavalry mostly. A few units of Empire Knights, the Royal Altdorf Griffites are around here as well. And then even the Emperor's Wrath steam tank has arrived. They might be too little too late though, because a lot of the infantry and stuff has been absolutely destroyed at this point. I pulled my anti-large over to this side with the cavalry to defend from it. There is quite a lot of it. It is doing a bit of damage, but nothing to worry about. A lot of stuff is spread out here, as you can see. The armies have got to go all over the place. As long as we're keeping those missiles from firing and getting the damage done, we are slowly but surely wearing them down. Some Empire Knights managed to get behind my main line, get into my back line a little bit, but it's not a huge deal. We got enough stuff there to be able to respond to thors matchups. My Zangors beating down the infantry well enough. And then it pretty much comes down to a case of just taking out the cavalry and all the lords. There's quite a few lords around because there was 4 armies at the start, so there's 4 of those. I think there's been some reinforcement ones. But while it is a bit of a mess, this is kind of where my main line was and where my flank came from, so you can kind of get an idea of the map here and how it went down. But mostly I'm pushing off to the left, just trying to finish off everything else that's coming. Routed most of the stuff off at the back. And then it's pretty much just down to the lords. One of them is fucking Torre, but he's just been beaten down. There's another one here that's been getting mauled. Eventually, though, we take that victory, no trouble. Close victory, we'll take it. And with that, our grand scheme in the Empire lands is done. And with the elector counts in full rebellion, apparently, we're now ready to move on and we get to choose where to go. We could go for Norska and Kislev, Darklands and the Mountains of Morn, or both. I'm going to go for Norska and Kislev, I think, which, as it mentions, it will summon some cultists there so that I can get some of my little trickster cults in their settlements and I can then move the Changeling over to there to start doing work that's needed.
Like a house of cards, the authority of the Empire can be a fragile thing.
So over in Kislev we got our cultists. I can now use them to build various kinds of cults in any of the nearby settlements. I'm of course going to put one in each. It's given me 3 cultists, so I can do it in 3 settlements and get myself a province ready to go when the Changeling arrives here. And you can see I've completed the Empire one. I've done the 3 prerequisites to do the final battle. I've done 1 in Norska and Kislev. I just need to do 2 more and then I can do that battle. And as you can imagine, it'll continue on with the different places from there, wherever you want to go. And it's all in the name of doing the ultimate scheme, which is this big battle at the end where there's going to be a bunch of reinforcements unless you take them out. You have to do 5 of them. You can see the Reichland one is grayed out. So that's the ultimate goal of the campaign. Overall, this campaign does feel quite different from others. Like I mentioned, being invisible to other factions most of the time is very fun. I'm probably not doing it justice with all the stuff you can do with trickster cults and trickster rifts and changing of the ways and such. I have ended up with a few extra forms now as well. I've got Boris Toddbringer because I fought him in that battle just now, and I've got Eckhard Hellbrass, I guess from completing my first scheme, but we're getting a nice collection together as we go. But there we go, there's some Changeling. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see all the new units in this DLC up close, check out this video here. Other than that, thanks again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Check out the link if you're interested. Thanks to all the patrons that support this channel, and I will see you in the future.